You're praying for breakthrough, but what if you are unknowingly accepting the devil's offer instead of God's promise? If you ever felt stuck, confused, or like something felt off, this might be why. Today, I'm going to show you how to discern the truth, counter back, and stop accepting the counterfeit offer. I have been living in the house that I'm currently in right now for the past 7 years. We moved in here August 1st, 2018, and it is about to be August 1st, 2025, and we're about to move out. The reason why we're about to move out is because back in May, we encountered a problem where mice kept getting into our house. So once this started happening, we contacted our landlord and we basically were telling him like, hey, a couple mice got into the house. Like, this is a problem. Can you handle it? And his response to us, he was basically just like, okay, put down some traps, whatever, deal with it. And if you know me, you know that I do not like mice. I do not like rodents. I am deeply terrified of them. So once this started happening and once I realized that the landlord was not doing anything, I refused to stay here. But a couple of weeks ago, we started thinking because the mice problem still did not get resolved. And we were just like, why are we paying rent at a house that, we refuse to stay at because our landlord refused to take care of the issue? And we was like, instead of just paying rent to stay here, we might as well just find somewhere else to stay and go move out. So a couple of weeks ago, we went and we looked at a few houses. We saw one that we really, really liked and we applied for it. Now, when you apply for a house, you know that a lot of times they want to contact your current landlord or one of your previous landlords just to get a reference of like how you are as a tenant. And so we put down our landlord's information and we basically reached out to him and was like, hey, we are looking to move. We applied for a place. They're going to be calling you. They're going to ask, how we are as tenants and this, that, and the third. So boom, the next day comes and our landlord calls us and he's like, yeah, I talked to the people. I gave you guys an outstanding review. Like, you guys are one of the best tenants I ever had. I told them that. I also told them that I was going to fight for you to stay here. And so he was like, I want to keep my word on that. Like, I'm fighting for you guys to stay here. So basically, he gave us this counter offer where he was basically like, if you guys choose to stay here and not move out, I will, number one, pay off the pest control company that we were paying for, because this wasn't really relevant to the story. But since our landlord kind of had this attitude of just deal with it, we found this pest control company and we've been paying for them, and they haven't really been helping solve the problem either. But he basically said, I will pay off the remaining balance with that to get you guys out of that contract and get you canceled. He also said that he will lower the rent however much we want. And then he also said that he will do $10,000 worth of renovations to the house. And then he will also get the mice problem under control. And so when he first came to us with this offer, we were ecstatic because, like I said, we're coming up on 7 years of living in this house. Despite everything, we really do like this house. Like, this is a really nice house. It's also a really nice area. And we didn't really want to move. We just really didn't want to stay in a house where we're paying rent and we're not comfortable living here because of an issue that's not getting resolved. And so we had called a couple family members and we basically told them his offer, and we told them that we were thinking about taking him up on it and we wanted their opinion. So we talked to two different people and they basically told us the same thing. They were like, challenge him on it. Like, take him up on the offer, send him a text message, take him up on the rent, take him up on the renovations, take him up on the mice thing, and see what he says. Like, don't just say yes, see what he says. And so we sat down and we thought, like, because when it came to the renovations, he was like, I'll do $10,000 in renovations of whatever you want. So we basically was like, okay, let's sit down and let's see, what do we feel like needs to be fixed? We kind of came up with painting, fixing the flooring in one of the bedrooms and the dining room, and then just like light fixtures, like changing out the light fixtures. And so we sent him this text message. We listed all those things. When it came to the rent, we were like, we're not really trying to lower the rent that much. Will be nice and maybe $50. And then the mice issue and this, that, and third. And so he had texted us back that same night. Like all this happened the same day. And when he texted us back, he basically backtracked on everything. Like he backtracked on lowering the rent, he backtracked on renovations, he backtracked on the mice problem, like he backtracked on everything. And he even kind of had this attitude of like, why are y'all coming to me and texting me about this, as if he didn't offer, to do all these different things. And so once this happened, I basically was like, well, there's our answer, like we're moving, because clearly he was not serious about anything. And clearly he thought that he could just say that to us and we were going to just take him up on it. And then day by day was going to go by and week by week was going to go by and we would have missed out on this house. And he had no intentions of ever doing any of the things that he promised that he would do for us. And so I was a little sad because, like I said, we've been staying here for 7 years. I really like it. I really like the area. And I really don't I want to move, but I also really have parts of this house that I really, really like. So I was really, really sad. And as I was feeling these emotions, God spoke to me and he was like, this is why you need to stop accepting things and you need to start countering back to see the truth. God showed me through this situation that when he is trying to bring you to something new, the devil is going to start trying to send lies that's going to hold you back. And sometimes the lies that the devil send are so good that we don't question them, we don't discern them, we do nothing but just accept them, and then we reap the consequences of that later on down the line. God was reminding me of what I talked about in last week's episode, where I was talking about not giving into temptation. And in that episode, I talked about how sometimes the devil will tempt you with things where he packages it up to make it seem like it came from God. He will use scripture because he knows that God uses scripture. He will speak to you about an opportunity and make you think it's an open door that you've been praying for. The only difference is that he will twist one thing. He will change one thing, and that detail will be so minor that if you do not have discernment, you will miss it and you will fall for something that was not sent by God. And God was reminding me of that episode and everything that he showed me in that episode. And he told me that sometimes the devil likes to manipulate us into staying in a place that he's trying to bring us out of. And I want you to really think about this, and I want you to ask yourself, have you ever experienced something like this? Have you ever been in a place where that circumstance and that situation just felt so unappealing to you? It felt so discouraging to you. And you seen something that felt like an open door. It felt like an opportunity. And you felt like it was a gift from God. You felt like God sent this because you've been praying over getting out of this. You've been praying over making it through. And this opportunity looks like something that God would do for you. So you walk through that door. And as time goes on, that excitement, that relief that you felt starts to die down. And what you accepted starts to feel like a curse. What you thought was a blessing starts to feel like a curse. And maybe you got to a point where you were angry at God and you were questioning, God, why did you bring me here? God, why did you do this for me? This isn't what I thought was going to happen. This isn't what I wanted. I thought I was going to be in a better place after you came through, but now I'm still feeling the same emotions, or maybe I'm still feeling worse emotions. So God, why did you bring me here? And now you're building up resentment against God because you just don't understand what's happening in your life. If you ever been in a situation like this, or you ever felt this way, I want to remind you that sometimes it's not God. Sometimes God was not the one that was playing with you. Sometimes the devil was just so good at packaging something up and making you believe that it came from God, and you accepted that thing without discerning it or without countering back to see the truth. And in my story, I'm so glad that it didn't get that far, but I kept having moments where I kept thinking about what would have happened if I would have just took that as the truth and I would have just stayed in this place. I would have missed out on a very nice house, a house that I was surprised that we even got approved of. I would have been stuck paying rent for a place that I'm not comfortable in, stuck paying rent for a place that still had the problems that I was trying to avoid. I would have had to face the harsh reality of realizing that what my landlord said to me was a lie, where this was a part of the story I didn't tell, but when he first gave us the offer, he said that he was going to have his contractor come out that next week and talk to us and about the renovations and stuff. But then when we told him what we wanted in the text messages, once he responded, he was like, oh yeah, my contractor just randomly went out of town for like 3 weeks and I don't know when he's going to be able to come and blah, 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 blah. And I realized in that moment that if we would have just said yes to that offer, then we would have just got excuse after excuse after excuse. We would have said yes, and he would have, guilted us into missing out on an opportunity that actually came from God. And then every single week, something would have came up. Every single week, it would have been an excuse as to why his contractor has yet to come out. So I started realizing what could have been the consequence of me not discerning that issue and just accepting it. And I don't want that to be you. I don't want you to miss out on what God actually has for you because you're so focused on accepting what the devil presented to you. And so because of that, I want to give you a few ways that the devil will try to send lies to you to take you away from whatever it is that God is trying to do for you. And the number one way that the devil will send a lie is through people. In my story, the devil used a person. He used my landlord to try and lie and keep us from a place that God was taking us to. But I understand that my story is probably not common. So let me ask you a question. Have you ever experienced being in like a relationship and the person that you're in a relationship with is very toxic, but recently you've been praying to God about marriage and you've been praying to God about having a healthy spouse, a spouse that honors him, a relationship that brings glory to his name, and you've been feeling like God has been calling you to break up with this person. You've been feeling like God has been calling you to be single for a little bit and just work on yourself. But right when you feel like God is calling you to that, the person that you're in a current relationship with starts to change. They start to give you all these promises. They say, baby, I'm so sorry. I'm going to do so much better. We can go to counseling. We can work on this. I'm going to start doing all the things that you complain about. I'm going to start taking you on dates every single weekend. I promise we can work through this. And so because you love this person and because you have feelings for this person and because it's already hard enough for you to walk away from them, you decide to believe them and you decide to stay in this situation. But guess what? Time goes on, and maybe in the beginning they do start off working on those things. Maybe in the beginning they do start off going to counseling, but as time goes on, they stop showing up. They start falling right back into the things that you did not like about them. They start falling right back into the toxic ways that you were trying to get rid of. And the reason why is because you could not discern that God was the one who was calling you to leave. God was the one who was calling you to remove yourself. And the devil sent this person to lie to you, to keep you in a place and make you miss out on something that God was trying to take you to. I'll give you another example. Let's say that you have been having a desire to walk away from your job and do your business full time. And you've been feeling like now is the time for you to finally walk away from that thing and finally pursue what God is telling you to pursue. And around this time, your boss comes to you, and maybe your boss can sense that you might be leaving, and they offer you something where they're like, hey, if you stay another 5 months, we'll give you a promotion at the end of the year. If you stay another 6 months, we'll give you a raise at the end of the year, And so you make the decision to stay in this job and still work your business as a side hustle instead of full time. And those 5 months come, or those 6 months come, and that promotion or that raise that your boss promised you does not appear. You try to bring it up to them and they're like, oh yeah, well, the company, we tried to budget and we realized we couldn't do it right now, but we'll do it later on in the year or this, that, and third, And so you listen to the devil. You allowed the devil to send a person to give you a lie that made you avoid something that God was trying to take you to. The point is, the devil will use people to make you do the opposite of what God is calling you to do. And the second thing that the devil will use is he will use you. And you might be wondering, how on earth will the devil use me to keep me from doing something? Let me ask you a question. Have you ever desired more out of life, or even had an opportunity to get more out of life, and instead of taking it, you talked yourself out of it? You had all of these thoughts that bombarded your mind, talking to you about why this can't happen, why this won't work out, how you're not good enough, how you're not qualified enough, how you're not smart enough, how a person like you cannot have that thing, how a person like you cannot have that opportunity. And so instead of just accepting it, you talk yourself out of it, where you close a door that God opened to you, where you don't even entertain a desire that God put in your heart. Sometimes the devil doesn't even have to use another person to stop us from doing what God wants us to do, because all he has to do is speak to us, because we're so willing to entertain and accept the negative thoughts that he puts in our mind. We're so willing to entertain and accept the memories that he puts in our mind to remind us how we can't have that thing, why we're not good enough for that thing, why we're not qualified for that thing. We're so willing to accept the insecurities that he places into us to prove why this thing cannot happen for a person like us. And we close that door all by ourselves. The devil will use either people or he will use yourself to bait you into dishonoring God. And the sad part is, so many of us fall for the bait. So many of us get so angry at God and we wonder why our lives are not looking the way that we want them to look, why we're not achieving the things that we've been praying for and desiring for years and, working towards for years, and why we're still in these same situations and the same place. And we always like to put the blame on God, but sometimes the problem is not God. Sometimes the problem is us. We accept the devil's bait. Because a lot of the time, remember what I said in last week's episode, where I said that the devil likes to speak to your weakness. The devil knows that our weak area in these situations are our feelings and our emotions. And so he gives us opportunities. He gives us offers that is desirable to the emotions that you're feeling. If the emotion that you are feeling is fear, maybe it's fear because the thing that God is calling you to do makes you uncomfortable. The devil is going to present to you an opportunity that feels very comfortable, where you don't have to challenge yourself. You don't have to grow. You don't have to do that scary thing. Maybe the scary thing is speaking in public. You don't got to speak in public. You can still hide and, speak in private. He gives you an opportunity that speaks to an emotion that will make you feel comfortable and that will keep you complacent. I'll give you a real life example. When it came to me moving out of this house and moving into our new house, I had mixed emotions. Of course, I was excited. It's a new chapter. It's a new journey. It's a new house. The house is actually nicer than where I'm living right now, and a little bit bigger. So I was excited, but a part of me also felt fear, because I got so comfortable staying here. I've been staying here for 7 years. I really like the neighborhood. This neighborhood is a really nice neighborhood. Not to say that the new house's neighborhood is not nice. It's cool. But if I had to choose to stay in this neighborhood or stay in that neighborhood, I would probably choose this neighborhood. But I had so many fears about moving to another neighborhood, moving to a house that I don't really know anything about, how things will be over there, And so when the devil gave me this opportunity through my landlord, a part of me was kind of comfortable to be like, yeah, we'll take that and we'll forgo the house, because I want to stay complacent. I want to stay in this neighborhood. I'm afraid to move neighborhoods. I got so used to this house. I don't want to learn a new house, And his offer spoke a lot to my fears. He could see the emotions that I was battling with relocating, and he created an offer that spoke to that. But I'm glad that God cared enough about me to have people in my corner to tell me to counter back on that offer so that the truth could come out. Because we take these offers because we think that is God, but it's not. And even though it looks good, we have to realize the devil never have our best interests in heart. God is saying to you today, the truth is going to come out one way or another. You can either find out the truth by countering back, discerning the offer, and allowing the truth to get exposed without you accepting it. Or you can find out when it's too late. You can find out after you accepted it, after you missed out on the thing that God was trying to give you, and you reap the consequences of saying yes. And so, if you choose to find out the truth before you accept it, I want to give you a few ways that will help you with discerning if something is from God or if something is coming from the devil. And the number one way is to get into the habit of praying before you make a decision. Like I said, the devil is always going to give us opportunities that speaks to our emotions. It's going to speak to our comfortability. It's going to speak to what we desire. It's going to be appealing to us. And more than likely, especially through the process, God's opportunities, God's open doors, God's instructions, God's steps are going to be things that feels very uncomfortable, right? They're going to challenge you. They're going to grow you. They're going to scare you because his ultimate goal is to make you new. So he has to take you places where you got to adapt. He has to take you places that feel scary at first, but once you actually walk into that thing, you realize it wasn't that scary at all. But my point is, because the devil's opportunities feels more appealing to where we currently are, we are more than likely willing to just accept it and then pray after. I'm going to take this thing and then I'm going to pray to God to bless me as I walk into it. But we have to get into the habit of praying before we accept something. Praying and asking God, first of all, is this you? Is this me? Or is this the devil? Praying and asking God, should I even take this thing? Don't pray after, pray before. The second thing that I want you to do is I want you to dissect your emotions. Because like I said, a lot of the opportunities that the devil gives us is going to speak to our emotions. So when that thing is exciting you and it feels more desirable to you, I want you to ask yourself why. Why does this thing feel desirable to me? Ask yourself, what does it speak to? Does it bring you comfort in any areas? And what are those areas? Is it a fearful area? Is it an insecure area? Is it a positive area? Why do I like this? And why does this bring me comfort? Does this thing go against what God has been telling me? If God has been speaking to me, even though it feels uncomfortable, and he's been telling me get into public speaking, but then this thing is telling me make a faceless YouTube channel where nobody knows who you are. Is it going against what God has been speaking to me? Dissecting your emotions is going to help you really discern what is this thing speaking to? And is this opportunity really from God or is it from the devil? And number 3, I want you to get out of the idea of having options. A lot of the reasons why we accept the devil's offers is because we like the idea of having options. We don't like to put all of our eggs in one basket. We like to have security. We like to have plan Bs. We like to know if this doesn't work out, I'll have another way. If this opportunity doesn't come, I'll have another one, you know? And so we entertain the devil's offers because it makes us feel like we have options. But I want to remind you today, you do not need options. You only need God's way. You have to get into the habit of thinking that God's way is the only way. There is no other option to choose from. There is no other path to take. It's God's way or no way. So if this didn't come from God, this egg does not need to go into your basket. This episode is not just about a house. This episode is about trusting what God is trying to show you. It's about challenging your emotions and challenging your comfortability. I know it's scary. I know God's way might not seem as appealing as the devil's, but God's way is necessary. And remember, the devil's way will always look appealing at first, but it will always be something that you regret later. God's way will be something that might seem a little scary at first, but you'll realize how everything will come together later. I am very happy that in my story, I did not have to learn this lesson the hard way. I am very happy that in my story, I did not have to be stuck in a situation and in a place that God was trying to take me out of. I am very happy that in my story, I did not miss out on a house that is probably one of the best looking houses on the market at the moment because I was so eager to accept the counterfeit offer that the devil was giving me. It is time for new. God is trying to do something new in your life. I moved into this house August 1st, 2018. And my very last day of being here, because we're about to be moving over the weekend, so the very last day of me having the key will be August 1st, 2025. It has literally been 7 years to date. And as I was thinking about this, God reminded me, He said, 7 is the number of completion. Your journey here has been completed. And I'm not saying that in your story, you've been doing something for 7 years. But I believe just like God is saying to me, He is saying to you, the journey here has been completed. I understand that the devil is trying to manipulate you and he's trying to, coerce you with tactics and offers to make you stay in a place. But I want you to understand that the journey here is completed. It is time to move on. I am trying to take you to something greater. And you have to make the decision. Are you going to accept this scary thing and trust me? Or are you going to accept the comfortable thing and regret it later? But before we go, I do have an action step that I want to give you to do this week. This week, I want you to think about an opportunity that you've been giving in any way. And instead of just saying yes to it, I want you to pause. I want you to ask God, is this you? Because how many of us actually take the initiative to ask God, is He in this thing? Ask Him, is this thing from Him? And then sit long enough to hear His answer. Give Him 5 minutes of just sitting in silence, waiting for Him to speak back to you. And even if He doesn't speak to you in that moment, don't just pray once and then act on it immediately. Pray and give Him a couple days. Give Him time to speak to you, because discernment is your weapon of winning against the enemy. But that is all that I have for you today. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure that you subscribe so that you get a notification every time a new episode is released. Also, leave a review and let me and others know how you enjoyed the show. And if you want to stay connected, follow me on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook at Prospering with Christ. But that's all I have for you today, and I will see you next week.